So welcome to today's webinar. And today we're going to be talking about county lines. And I'm really pleased to be able to join by somebody who knows a lot more about it than I do, but it is something that we're going to be taking a look at and going through. Now, we're going to be focusing on a PowerApp that's available in the PDS Solutions catalogue, which is designed to help our police colleagues across the UK in each force to tackle the huge range of challenges associated with county lines criminality. Just to remind us all of the NPCC definition of the county lines from the serious crime strategy, it defines it as the county line terms used to describe gangs or organised criminal networks involved in the exporting of illegal drugs into one or more importing areas within the UK and using dedicated phone lines or other form of a deal line. So that's the definition, but I'm sure we've all got various experience of what county lines actually means. So this PowerApp has been developed from the ground up to help the practitioners, the frontline officers, staff, investigators, custody teams to coordinate the police response, identify the support they need, put the knowledge into the hands of the users who need it. The important difference with this, it remains under central support for the foreseeable future to ensure it's maintained, and as this crime develops, the advice and guidance updates as well. So I'm joined by Duncan. So you join us from the National County Lines Coordination Centre. Could you start by explaining your role and why the County Lines PowerApp was developed?
Great, thank you, David, and hello everybody online as well. So my role within the County Lines Coordination Centre is I have the lead for child exploitation. And some of the things that we've looked at over the last few years is the collaboration between law enforcement, our partners, UK Border Agency and other areas within policing has been fragmented, as the county lines is a methodology, it's not a crime type. So that movement of that vulnerable person, that movement of the drugs often goes across many different areas within policing. As we know, we've got 43 different forces. So I think what we need to do is make sure that we needed to have an app, and I'll go on to the why we chose a PowerApp in a moment, but we needed a central repository of information instead of the death by email approach that we have had. And being that coordination centre, we wanted to make sure that we had everything that we could, an officer or member of staff could possibly need at a touch of a button. And I suppose when we look at the why, the need for it, there's that information sharing, there's the investigation, there's the identification and recording mechanisms that we need to use nationally to have that collaborative approach to county lines. And as I said before, it's a methodology which affects various different crime types, from exploitation, modern slavery, drug distribution, firearms, all sorts of other crime types within the organised criminal networks. And also the fact that those criminal networks want to distance themselves from the point of arrest. Therefore, we've seen that greater number of children being utilised on the lines. So yeah, there's a lot that's going on behind it, and why we use PowerApps. Well, actually, it was a story for me really about 18 months, 2 years ago, when I first got introduced to PowerApps. And what an intuitive way forward for our policing colleagues and staff to utilise and to make sure that we are working, together to try and do that, and having that platform where it's really intuitive, really easy, where we have that central repository of all the information at a touch of a button, and also being able to communicate across different areas of policing and contacting local authorities and various commission services all within one central space was a no-brainer for me, and hence why we started that project almost about a year ago now.
So I think for the benefit of our audience, if you could share your screen while I talk us through this. A PowerApp is a template solution effectively that each force installs on their local Microsoft environment. It's not like the solutions that we have on our personal mobile phones with the Play Store or the App Store, where it's a central app and everybody can download it. This is only on work devices, and it's accessible to the force users, and it has to be installed by the Microsoft 365 administrator in the force, and it does take a tiny bit of local fettling, a local adaptation to make it work, but it does mean that it's there for our policing colleagues to be able to use, and every force can use this common piece of work that's been done once points, which is absolutely the way we should be going. So Duncan, perhaps you could explain and show us the app, explain some of the different sections and the functionality, and importantly, some of the guidance that it makes available 24/7 to our staff.
Yeah, sure, no problem, David. Thank you. So it's important to recognise that there's lots of information around county lines. And what we wanted to do is to ensure that it's everybody's responsibility to do something, but it's not everybody's responsibility to know everything at one time. So the intuitive way the app was developed is that you can push into various different thematical areas of the app, find out what you need to know, whether it's safeguarding, whether it's our partnership or any recording mechanisms that we need, that we're looking at nationally, find a subject matter expert, contact them, but also look at information that can help you move forward. And I'll give a good example actually into when we're looking at our tactical options. When we started this process, we canvassed many forces around what they needed. So what do they need to make their jobs easier, but actually look further into that exploitation, the modern slavery, and linking in with our CPS, but also having stated cases to support that. So even if I just clicked on through here and then went through safeguarding, what we found was lots of officers were unsure about creating a strategy meeting, hosting a strategy meeting. So we created an innovative way of looking at that. So when we're looking at strategy meetings, and you'll see by the layout of this, we create that essential knowledge and then the actions. So what are we asking them? What are the expectations of the police? And what are the expectations of our partners that we work with, commission services, to get that informed decision? So to prove or disprove that person's involvement in the offence, to understand modern slavery, to understand other forms where we can pursue exploitation. So if you click on here, we can click over and open up a strategy meeting document. That strategy meeting document enables us to look at how things are going to work, how we host one, who should attend, what should they bring to the table, and just make sure that people are doing the same thing all the time, to make sure that we are looking at how we look at modern slavery, and also how we look at the response from other people within that setup, that professional setup. I'm just going to move this out of here.
And of course, each of these documents is loaded locally onto the force. So if there is a local variance within that document or local guidance, that can be updated by the County Lines Coordinator in the force.
Yes, definitely. So we keep lots of information within this app, but each individual force is a tenant of its own information. So we are committed to developing this app and keeping it updated. But we also want to make sure that we are encouraging our partners to feed into the app, although they don't have access to it because it's law enforcement only. And the reason why it's law enforcement only, we're all along our Office 365 journey. We wanted to make this clear right from the start. There's going to be covert information in here and information for law enforcement only with regards to investigations, modern slavery legislation, stated cases and things like that. So it is for law enforcement only, but we want our partners to feed into this. So, for example, we're looking at safeguarding in custody. We're asking more of our colleagues within the custody directorate to turn around and say, right, ask these critical questions of the officer in the case, ask them of the arresting officer, look at national referral messages as well, including videos, help guides, where we're looking at how do we refer into our national partners such as Catch 22, which I've just brought up there. So it makes it much easier we're going to go about doing this. So from my point of view, what we need to ensure is that colleagues understand everything that's around County Lines landscape, and if it's going to be involved in County Lines, it's going to be on this app. Another thing from my point of view is that we are looking at trying to take this slightly wider than just County Lines. We're looking to drive this forward really into criminal exploitation and the wider modern slavery elements of this app. And if I could just click on the back button here as we move into modern slavery and civil orders, we're looking at those elements where how do we look at modern slavery? How do we investigate? How do we bring partners in? How do we brief our CPS teams? And these are all these historical investigative hurdles that we've had to come across over the years, where you have your modern slavery, which is not written up properly. It's drugs with a modern slavery element on the back of it. The CPS, their 4-stage code test. And there's so many pieces of information out there that officers are required to know, that we needed to make sure we had this in one central space. And if I could just
go on. Yeah, carry on, Duncan.
Yeah, it's just really looking at our partners as well, because we need to make sure that we are involving our partners. And there's lots of information around here of national products, for example, SafeCall. And you'll understand on here as well, we've got our essential knowledge and considerations in our actions as well. So we actually are actively wanting our colleagues to reach out to these other organisations, which are commissioned services, national products, to support that fight against county lines, because we know we can't arrest our way out of this problem if we're always going to have that demand. So the user demand for drugs, we're going to have that supply network as well. So how do we drive our law enforcement forward in an intuitive way, which is a touch of a button in the palm of your hand?
One of the things that we're seeing on the screen at the moment is probably the desktop view of this, but it works equally well as well on mobile, doesn't it? But who's this app actually for? Who in force would use this? Yeah,
really good question. So I'm displaying it in my desktop. You can access it from your mobile phone, from your obviously work mobile phone, through the PowerApps network, through PDS or through your force systems. And you can actually contact people, subject matter experts, through your mobile phone, through the app, and then get advice, you know, and share it securely. It's for everybody. It's for police officers across the board, from intelligence gathering through to proactive teams looking at modern slavery, county lines, through the teams that look at, for example, Project Alpha, that look at social media and how we request that data, through to literally the investigator, the arresting officer, and across the board around policing, into protecting vulnerable people, and various other elements, and also police staff in their research. For example, there's lots of information regarding our national recording mechanisms, either Police National Database, PND, or Police National Computer, PNC. So I haven't come across a department yet that said they wouldn't use it. So we wanted to make sure it is county lines focused, but encompasses that whole plethora really of crime types that are associated with the county lines methodology.
And one of the things that I was really pleased to see was the definitions, because there's a lot of odd terms in some ways in county lines criminality, and having that clear definition could help my home departments of corporate communications, helps with partnership work, but it helps with all those things. And I know you're just showing them on screen in a moment now. To show those definitions are really valuable to us, and those are the shared definitions across policing. And by definition, county line criminality breaks down across these force boundaries and silos of work, doesn't it? So the challenges of this app, it's going to be implemented in every force. Every force will have their local version based off the national. But I believe there's been a commitment from your team to keep the content up to date for the foreseeable future. Could you explain a little bit more about the national position and how that will move forward?
Yes, definitely. So the National County Lines Coordination Centre, led by Commander Paul Brogden, who is the NPCC lead for county lines, so the national lead, he has committed to the update, the continued update and engineering behind the app. So the actual updates that we're suggesting to forces that need to do with traditional apps that have been commissioned from the PDS, I think it's going to be a lot easier for forces to do. So although they're a tenant of their own information, we will continue to look through the app and provide periodic updates, as we've done recently for drop 2 of the app for those forces that have downloaded it already, to make sure that it's up to date, it's current, and new legislation is there as well. So it's a really exciting time for us in the sense of all forces are affected by county lines, drug dealing, exploitation, and the associated modern slavery and control and coercement that's utilised on those young people. So therefore we wanted to make it a point where people can refer in. So there's actually a feedback button, there's a central repository, a glossary as well. So over the next couple of years, at the very least, we will be creating new content, looking at stated cases, more information to help officers, and also responding to forces about what they would like to see on that app, and are we missing anything. So, the app feedback button is absolutely vital at the moment for us to make sure we're giving those officers and police staff what they really need.
And there's a really great question in here from Kate. Does the current version allow users to access help from, say, their regional crime unit, the ROCUs, via the app, or is that something potential for the future?
Yes, we've got contact options here, which I'm going to show you. A very good question. We've got regional contact options through the gateways, and we also have county lines coordinators with their information that's stored as well. And we've got lots more information around who should we report into, for example, prisons and various other commission services. And we also have our key exporter forces and their task forces also on there as well. So whatever you possibly think of in a county lines question, there will be someone that you can touch base with that can give you the support and guidance that you need.
That's fantastic, and keep your questions coming in if you've got any more questions or comments. Just to explain a little on how you can get that PowerApp function downloaded into your course. We publish the PowerApps in the collaboration channel on the PDS Enabling Centre Solutions Catalogue, which is accessible to anybody who's got a police.uk email address. You just need to get in touch and be accessed. It is only the Microsoft 365 administrators in force who can actually install this and make this available for your users. So this is a real combination of, if you're involved in tackling county lines criminality, working with your IT specialists to be able to make this available. It's all part of the standard blueprint, so we can do all those things together in one go. So there's another question just coming in. If I can just bring that up on my screen. I am working remotely today because we've got a lot of things going on in PDS, as you know, at the moment. So it's a question from our colleagues at the College of Policing. Does the PowerApp capability function have the functionality linked to the APP and College Learn, such as the Microsoft 365 environment? Now, we know we have got the APP link. Perhaps you could just show us that.
I have. It's on there. Look at that. What a segue. So I have worked with the College of Policing. We wrote the APP for county lines, looking at that criminal exploitation. So it's already on the app, and it can be added straight through on the link, and we can open the college app guidance and the associated risks and exploitation guidance already. It's built in within the app.
That's fantastic. So if you are struggling to get access to this in your force, do get in touch with your business engagement manager through PDS, who would be more than willing to help and move this forward. Duncan, what do you think the benefits are of us all sharing this app in this approach? What difference will it make to those who need safeguarding and those potential victims in this area?
Yeah, I think it's going to make a massive amount of difference, because at the moment we have a bit of a house of cards situation, especially around exploitation. We'll be looking at the national referral mechanism. How people are dealt with is really determined on where they live and the commission services surrounding that. What we need to establish is a minimum standard across all 43 forces around the identification, investigations and appropriate safeguarding measures of people involved in county lines, and also that disruption, all the disruption tactics, the tools in our toolbox to disrupt those that are causing misery to everybody else and committing offences, which we see on a regular basis, not just looking at drugs and the distribution of drugs, but many other areas within organised criminality. So this will bring a standardised approach to how we work with the CPS, how we look at exploitation, and how we work with our commission services and look to draw out evidence-led prosecutions. Essentially, what we want is to go after the people that are causing misery to others and prosecute those that exploit others, that try to distance themselves from the point of arrest by utilising children.
There's a question in from Phil, which it's more for a PDS really than for you guys, in terms of, would this app be available with the consideration for those outside of the 43 forces of England and Wales? The Isle of Man Constabulary is mentioned in particular, who work with the North West ROCU. Of course, we can only provide the app to the forces who've got the common blueprint, part of the PDS approach, and those things. But how is the central team around County Lines able to provide support, Duncan?
Yeah, definitely. We'll provide support to that just through the work that I've done with completed with Gemma. Actually, Jersey Police have downloaded the app as well and interested. So it does go beyond. It doesn't include Police Scotland because of the nuances and the differences in legislation around modern slavery, for example, and that you're an adult when you're 16 in Scotland compared to 18 in England. Yeah. But we are working on that moving forward. I would support and try and link in with everybody who wanted to know about this if you weren't in a Home Office force, such as a British Transport Police, which you already have very good links in.
Yeah. And British Transport Police are members of the PDS, so they get that benefit. So even Isle of Man and the non-Home Office forces, the college, etc., NCA, linking with your business engagement manager, you have got nominated contacts who can provide that support. As say that we are leveraging here the benefits of having a shared blueprint for 365. That hence we can be happy that this solution will automatically work once the local implementation has been done. But obviously this goes wider than the technical solution. I can't see any other questions coming in. And Duncan, is there anything else you'd advise people to do if they want to take this forward and perhaps getting some barriers to overcome at their local level? What support can you offer from the centre, again, working with PDS?
I think through the collaboration with PDS, since this went live in September 2023, we've had lots of forces that have come on board. I think I haven't come across a force that would say, oh, we're not really sure about it. I think it's a capacity and also a capacity issue and capability issue around M365, and various forces are in their different avenues, aren't they? Different ways of implementation. So what I would suggest is that contact myself. I've put my email in the chat bar, and it's duncan.evans@met.police.uk. We will support any force or anybody within forces that says, look, I want to take this on. Obviously, working with PDS is much more beneficial to the forces, and we're going into the digital force leads, and there are some ways and testing in sandbox mode and things like that first. But I haven't come across a force that hasn't said yes or no, no, they don't want it. What I would say to people is that make those inquiries with your PDS lead, and also within the force to turn around and say, why not? Is there a reason why we can't utilise this PowerApp? Because it's not just county lines, it's exploitation, modern slavery, tactical options for your pursue teams. So many things that are in there that's just wider than that, that's all encompassing. Plus we have the upload ability to keep this going with the current content.
And that's the point. The technical infrastructure is in place. It just needs that drive to make it happen. All our webinars are always available on our YouTube channel. I am a little bit behind this week on the editing. I haven't got last week's up yet, but if you do head over to the YouTube channel, you can always get it. And there's always events going on. The reason I'm working remotely today is that we get lots of viewers on our webinars, but we are events, and we're at the security and policing event in Farnborough at the moment. But you can move to the slide with the events on. It'll show you all the different events that we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks. One more onwards. That's great. We go. Oh, maybe 3 more on. There's a lot of slides in our deck, and we are going to be looking at a vehicle kit webinar in the next couple of weeks as well. And we'll give a push for the Change Champions Network on the 21st of March. If you want to get involved in that, please get in touch with us through the PDS channel. We are now have got over 250 people pre-registered for the summit, which is taking place at the beginning of September, second week of September. We have got the Police Digital Summit. We're already getting sponsors expressing interest, but there's lots of people from policing who would absolutely recognise that as a fantastic opportunity to come together to share knowledge, to share the challenges, and discover how we can continue to move forward in developing the way that we address the digital challenges facing policing at the moment. Always get in touch with your business engagement team to be able to give you any support that you need. And I've just had a message from one of my colleagues, the business engagement team, saying that GMP implemented the County Lines app and said it was really simple and easy to implement. So you know, there's the feedback for you. Duncan, I really want to thank you for spending the time and sharing this with us today. There's a lot of detail here. I know your offer's there to help many other forces to get involved with this, and this is a great example of a small solution developed that can now benefit all the forces nationally because of the way we're able to leverage our blueprints. Hopefully you'll be able to join some more of our webinars in the very near future. We will talk about some of the other. Oh, I've just got a couple more questions if we've got a moment, Duncan. Are the documents hyperlinked or embedded within the app? I'm guessing they are hyperlinked to the local tenant.
Good. It's good. It's a good question, actually. So we have a central repository of documents and lots of links. They can be sent via a box file to the force that's requested it very, very quickly via a quick email. They will download it and link it to their SharePoint, and then there'll be the tenant of their own information. Once we upload new documents, then we can send that email with the associated documents to that force. So very easy to do, and I think it was Mike from GMP that made that comment earlier. We've had that by a few colleagues that have gone live with it. Cumbria, for example, did it in half a day. So I think the information's there, and it's very easy to draw across onto the tenancy within that force's SharePoint and start utilising it.
And there's a very technical question there from Devon and Cornwall. I'll let you reach out to your business engagement manager because for most of the audience, we won't have this. But thanks so much for joining us today. I know we've had a slight technical glitch at the end of the webinar. And funnily enough, it wasn't me working off a Wi-Fi hotspot. It was elsewhere in the system. But Duncan, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully a lot of people in the recordings for these webinars will be available very soon. Thanks everybody for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time as well.